Okay, good. It is Wednesday night, February 24th, meeting of the Carver Finance Committee. Sorry about that. It's Wednesday, February 26th, meeting of the Carver Finance Committee. It's about 7:02, and we've got several departments coming in to give us their budget presentations. And we will start out with the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Want me to get it? Yeah.
You coming next week too, Mike?
Yeah, sure. Got nothing to do with Mike.
Mike was there Monday night, because Mike likes coming to meetings.
See them do it.
Okay, so we are ready to go, and Mr. Siedentoff is here, and we're going to start out with operations and maintenance. Dave?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Okay, so one of my jobs as department head is to be fiscally responsible with the allocated money. I feel our department has done a good job of that. FY24, we were able to finish out in the black. Right now we're trending FY25 is going to be the same, and I'm asking for a little increase in FY26. Mainly those are due to the cost of everything going up between labor and materials, which is what a lot of my budget is spent on, between prioritizing maintenance, and then also a lot of it is unexpected repairs, which do happen, unfortunately. We do our best in this department to prevent that, and that is through weekly, monthly, year-long planning, and then with capital, we also plan out 10 years to try to foresee what's coming down the road. I feel we're in a pretty good shape right now, building-wise, road-wise, infrastructure-wise, and I thank you for that. And we just want to keep things moving in that direction, spending money as financially sound as we can, while maintaining, of course, unlimited money. We could always do more. There's always things to be done, but we try to do the best we can with the money budgeted, and what we have. So we've. Do you want to go over the lines, or what's your?
No, you just give us
Okay.
the important stuff.
All right. So let's see. FY26 shows a little increase in the salary lines. That's due to contractual obligations, things of that nature. No new staff is to be added or has been added. Regular salaries, clerical, everything there. We did do a little increase this year in summer help. We did a large decrease last year. So I'm trying to get back to where we were in FY24, kind of split the difference. And what we do with summer help is, it's basically kids we hire, usually from the community, and they help us around the grounds mainly. Sometimes if it's inclement weather, they'll work inside the building, painting, cleaning, things of that nature. They work with our maintenance people and custodians. Additional pair of hands, gives them some spending money, gives them some education in what it's like in the real world, and it helps us out. So I feel that's a win-win. Let's see, we did go up a little bit in overtime salaries just to cover contractual obligations there. You did see an increase in some of the lines. Building repair and maintenance, equipment repair and maintenance, those are just the nature of the beast, as we all feel in our daily lives outside of here. Everything is going up. So I've tried to, we've looked at what we've spent, and I tried to go up just a little bit, to what I feel is going to be sufficient coverage in the budget. I didn't just throw a dart at the wall, so those are based on live numbers. There's some things that we can't always plan on. As you know, gas goes up, natural gas, gasoline, things like that. We can make predictions, but those are a best educated guesstimate, I'll call them. But we try to be on target with those the best we can. And that's pretty much just the increases. I mean, if you want to call it a cost of living adjustment, that's really all I've added into the budget. No large increases, just the cost of living to cover services we have to pay, whether it's materials or labor.
So how about, Dave, anything of significance that you're not able to do?
Not
This
right now. I'm
year.
running tight some, and it's a separate budget I run outside of this town budget. On the school side, have seen some pretty good costs on like mechanical repairs at the elementary school. But some of these systems now, everybody's going to be shocked. It's a new school. It's 7 years old now. So just mechanical rooftop issues. Unfortunately, we're finding things aren't built as good as they used to be. And just the way technology goes, it's costlier.
Well, they can't, it can't be as bad as the rooftop units on,
The back unit, no.
on the old building.
The easiest building I had to operate in the town of Carver was the Governor John. It was 2 steam boilers with,
Yeah,
some,
right.
with some univents, and
Open the windows.
it only ran at 80% efficiency, but we didn't have many breakdowns or problems. We actually have a software problem over there now with the lighting controls. There's no light switches in the Carver Elementary School. It's all run off computer-based, and there's an issue with it right now where we have limited accessibility into it due to a software upgrade. That's over $10,000
Really?
that we have to purchase. We're gonna have to purchase. Our hands are tied. And that all ties into, somebody's gonna say, why didn't you put light switches in? Because when the school was built, we went for a certain LEED certification. We got gold LEED certification on that. And that ties into a bunch of other things you have to do. Fortunately and unfortunately. The unfortunate side is when things break, there's a learning curve on fixing them, and also repairs are costly. We just had an issue in one of the classrooms, the lights wouldn't shut off. Took a while, but the electrician figured out it was actually a bad connection in another room, but they're all daisy chained together. So things like that. New buildings and new technologies, you get a new phone. There's a learning curve to it. And if you have to replace it every time, it's never cheaper. And just the operating systems of buildings are of that nature. But other than that, I don't see anything large coming down the road. I mean, we've got quite a bit of projects done over the last 7 years, which I think puts the town in good shape.
And I'd like to, compliment you guys on, well, at least, overseeing or whatever the renovations to both the library and the town hall over the last few years. They look great.
Yep.
They look fantastic, and, we really needed that.
Yeah.
Keep that, we've got such a nice town center, the new buildings and so forth.
Yep.
So that was, were you able to accomplish everything within the allotted funds?
Yes. Yep. We
Yeah,
were.
that was great, but that really made a huge difference.
It's hard. State aid, Chapter 90 monies we get for roadways.
Yeah.
That hasn't increased, but the cost of paving has gone up between the labor and the cost of asphalt. So the amount of roadways we can repair every year is getting smaller and smaller, just due to the cost and the funding mechanism that we use for that.
I got a question. How do you determine which roads get repaired? I mean, I would imagine it's priority, right?
It's priority. We look at the amount of traffic they see each day. We factor that in. There is some subdivisions and secondary roadways that don't get as much traffic that are probably in a little bit worse shape than the main roads, but the main roads see a lot more traffic, they get a lot more use out of them. So we weigh in all those factors.
Like I noticed in my street, it was at some point, but I don't remember when, it was crack sealed. And I know you guys don't do that anymore, right?
We have not been doing that. It just seems for the cost, you have to pay for it now.
Yeah,
Yeah. it
just like you can
doesn't-
see where it's like separating, where they
Yeah.
had patched it.
And after a winter like this, where we
Yeah.
had extreme cold and water getting in. One thing we did purchase this year through earth removal money was we bought a hot box, which helps out quite a bit because previously we'd send a truck over to the asphalt plant, get enough material, and by the end of the day, it was hard to work with. You end up wasting material. It was too hard to work with. And when you put it in cold, it doesn't bond as well. Now with a hot box that stays warm all day, it's easier to work with. It tends to get a better adhesion into the potholes. But there's a lot of them this year. We're gonna see that over we've had pretty mild winters the last 4 or 5 years. This year we got frost heaves. We haven't seen frost heaves in a long time.
And you guys took over the ball fields, the school and the town fields?
Yes,
A
yes.
few years ago?
Yep.
Do you anticipate any big projects, or like how's the maintenance on that? Is it easy, or is it, you guys have to put in a lot of soil, or?
No, so we have 2 groundskeepers that are dedicated to, they take care of both schools, fields and athletic areas, and they also take care of the complex back here. They take care of Forest Street, they take care of Purchase Street. So they're mowing. What we do, we contract out the fertilization and we contract out the irrigation to maintenance contracts for those. Don't have any big plans for any field renovations. They'd like to do something, I know, at the high school on the varsity infield. We're looking into that for the future.
Does the league still contribute to the maintenance of those fields as well? I don't mean
Yes,
financially, but.
so what happens is the user fees go into a fund
Oh, yeah.
that we tap into for a resource to help
But they
maintain them.
they'll still level the field like in between games and stuff like that?
Yeah, they maintain
They do
that
that.
end of it, yep. Yep.
Cool.
I had a question about the Union Cemetery. I heard might be some expansion there. Is that on the
Yes.
books? Yeah.
Yep, that is actually, I'm sorry, I'm thinking Central Barry, my apologies. Union, not a lot of room to expand down there, yeah. No, we did expand Central, and that is open now,
Good,
the
good.
second phase, so we've actually have some burials that have been done in there.
Okay, great.
So that gave us a lot of space,
Is that what this cemetery operating line is?
yes.
So that's the new,
So that's
effort.
for all the cemeteries, so that helps us maintain anything, equipment that we use, because we mow them, we weed whack them, we do different things.
so is that broken off as something else from 24 and before?
As far as the expansion,
Just as a line item? I just noticed it kind of pops up here this year.
no, we've always had that cemetery operating. I don't know why that was,
There's nothing in 24.
no, that was always there, it's something on the financial end.
Oh.
But the money was always there for us,
You mean with Vadar?
yes,
Okay.
yeah,
Got it figured out.
yep.
Hey. I
Yep,
will
no,
not-
we've
I will
always
not
maintained
stop.
around $20,000 a year in that,
Oh,
in
okay,
that
just-
line item.
okay.
Yep,
And not that the middle high school is going to be rebuilt soon, but someday, well, when we built the new elementary school, thought it was state of the art, which it kind of was, but listening to your story today, will that information be tucked away for when we focus on the high school? Was it, hey, wait a minute, we got to pull back a little bit on some of the,
it's probably hard to forecast that, I mean, I won't certainly be here.
from a long way from now.
None of us
We'll all be
will.
gone.
Okay.
So I don't know what, right now, MSBA, on the elementary school, I believe we got 60 cents on the dollar for that school to be built. But MSBA, because they're contributing, they have a lot of say
Yeah.
as to what gets done in that building. You can certainly do extra, but then it's 100% on you. And the more efficient you make the building, the more money they contribute. So they lean towards green buildings. We actually got gold LEED certification on that building, which I say is nice, and it saves us utilities, but at some point, when things do happen.
Yeah.
It can be costly.
All right,
Yeah.
thanks.
Any other questions for Dave? No? Okay, Dave, thanks very much.
All right, thank you very much for your
Appreciate it.
support.
Keep up the good work, and if any
questions,
issues that you
sir?
have, we're always here.
Yep, all right, thank you.
Okay.
Any questions? I'm always available.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Okay, next up, EMS, Chief Ryan.
Handouts.
Yeah, I learned very well from Chief.
That's great.
I don't have the nice copy here,
Yeah.
so can't make the books and state it's as good as I get.
Thank you.
Good evening, thank you for having me tonight. As you see in the little packet here, it kind of goes over a lot of things that we've done in 2024. Basically, I'm going to go over, I have the same notes you have in front of you. So for FY24, the receipts for ambulance transports came in higher than it's ever had before. So the year before, in FY23, we broke $1 million worth of revenue. It's the first time in the history of the department that happened. Last year, we came in at over 1.1, almost $1.2 million that we brought in through revenue for billing patients and their insurances for the transports we did, mostly because of our transport numbers are up. Our call volume's up. It's been up. It's consistently going up. This year, for FY25, we're on track to meet the same amount of call volume as last year, which is a good thing to have a steady call volume. If we start to, what happened during the pandemic, when we saw a big dip in our call volume in our transports because people were avoiding the hospital, that too also caused a dip in our revenue. But that's the reason why we have the ambulance fund set up the way it is, so that we're never ever planning on spending all the money that we have in the fund just in case we do have a shortfall for a year. So the starting balance of the fund in FY24 when we started was $254,054.20. When we brought in all that revenue, it left a balance in the ambulance fund of $1,422,73.73. Sorry. We took out the expenditures on salary and operating budgets were below what was expected. So we always like to say we come in under budget. We don't overspend our budget. We do put, every year when we do this, when we create our budget, we put a little bit of padding into it because we don't know. Similar to the fire department, we don't know how many calls we're going to go on. And we also rely on off-duty staff coming in for help with second calls. And we try to estimate how many they're going to be. We also try to estimate how many times we're going to add staffing. Just recently we had to add staffing because I had a procedure and was out of work for a week. So we want to make sure that both trucks were available for the day. So we added staff to make sure that we had both trucks ready to go. So there's things like that that come up that we don't plan for. So we plan to make sure that we have some extra money in there. So last year we turned back over $30,000 from salaries and almost $20,000 from the operating fund. After transferring the funds necessary to meet the FY25 budget, which was $1,028,771, it left the ambulance fund with a starting balance for this current fiscal year in FY25 of $443,472.06. We were able to successfully, with the FY25 budget, we were able to successfully increase staff salaries to get closer to what the industry standard is. And that helps us a lot with recruitment and retention. During FY24, and I'm sorry I didn't have the notes here, I kind of forgot about capital. In FY24 we had two capital projects. One was a leftover from FY22, which was the replacement of our ambulance one, which was a 2011 Ford E450 van chassis on a Lifeline ambulance box set. That was delayed from 2022, and we finally took delivery of it in the spring of 24. It came to a cost of $260,000. The EMS fund originally put up $160,000 and borrowed $100,000 from capital, and for FY23 and FY24 and FY25, we paid back $20,000 towards that, and we're going to continue paying back $20,000 every year until that $100,000 is paid back to the capital. We also had a replacement for our car 3, which was a 2010 Chevy Tahoe that we had gotten repurposed to us from the Department of Public Works. That vehicle had a lot of mileage on it, started to have a lot of rust underneath of it. The frame was starting to get some rust. And our staff uses that for a lot of calls during the day. So during the day, we run with an EMT, a paramedic, and a third provider, whether it be another EMT or another paramedic. And they use that vehicle to respond on calls, to assist on scene, but also to be available for any other additional calls or any other resources that are needed. So we got approved for $30,000 to replace that vehicle, at which point we purchased a used Chevy Traverse, which had about, it was a 2021, it had about 28,000 miles on it, worked out perfectly. Then ARPA came around, and we actually were able to get ARPA funds to replace our community EMS vehicle, which was a 2012 Chevy Suburban that we bought used from Long Island, New York. It had about 85,000 miles on it. We got it when it had 65,000 miles on it. The engine definitely was run pretty hard, and Long Island, being Long Island, had a lot of corrosion on it from the salt water. So it was good to look to replace that. So we replaced that with a brand new 2024 Chevy Tahoe through the ARPA funds. So it didn't cost the town any money. We got it through the federal funds from the ARPA, from Plymouth County, and we replaced that vehicle. So that made it so that we got rid of the Suburban we still have, but it's kept as a spare, and it's kept at the maintenance garage, and the mechanics have the ability to use it to go pick up stuff and everything. So it's moving, and it doesn't just sit there, and the tires don't turn flat, and the engine doesn't seize up. ARPA funds also got us 2 brand new cardiac monitors at roughly $100,000. Also got us 2 new Lucas chest compression devices, which run about $16,000 a piece. And both those were on our capital outlay plan for the next couple of years to be replaced. So we were able to replace those with ARPA funds, so we don't have to use any money from the ambulance fund to do that in the future. We also got some new tablets, some new for the trucks, so we do our patient documentation on a lot better. Mounting brackets in the truck so they can mount in there, and the crew can type on it without having the computer on their lap while they're driving. And then the last thing we got, which really wasn't a capital expense, but was an ARPA project, was wireless vital sign monitoring, which works for we can do vitals on up to 4 people at one time, and one person can do it. So they just wrap the blood pressure cuff on the patient, put the pulse ox probe in their finger. It's got a device that sends a signal out to a tablet. And we got an iPad that sends a signal to, and one person can manage 4 vital signs at once. Worked great if we ever have a mass casualty incident. I hate to say like an active shooter type of scenario, but more often we use it for fireground rehabilitation with the fire department. So they have multiple firefighters, they come through our rehab sector, and we can do vital signs on 4 firefighters at the same time, and with not a lot of manpower. So we can do it pretty easy with a couple people. So that worked out pretty good. So that's where FY24 stands. Have any questions about FY24? All right, so FY25, the current revenue for FY25 is going to exceed FY24. The current projections are that we're going to bring over more than $1.2 million. So that's a good sign. But again, it's because we're busy, because we're doing calls. We're doing roughly anywhere from 30 to 35 transports a week, where we used to average 20 to 23. So definitely call volume's up. Both expenditures in the operating salary accounts are going to projected to be less than what we budgeted, so we will have some turn back. Not as much maybe as last year, but we definitely will have some turn back. This includes the operating account. We had some high-priced one-time purchases for station reorganization and some more increased technology around the building. We had, at the end of FY24, we had a retirement. Karen Feen, who was our full-time deputy for many years, retired. And when she retired, we had some station remodeling we had to do to make it a little bit easy for our admin staff and the new organizational structure to do that. So we bought new desk, new computer, new mail sorter, things of that nature, which of course one-time purchases for a couple $1,000 that made that way. The other investment we made into were IV pumps. IV pumps is something that I'm sure people heard about. You see them in the hospitals. They're normally on critical care transport ambulances, or what they call interfacility transport ambulances, that go from one facility to another. So say you're at Plymouth and you need to be brought up to one of the Boston hospitals, you'd see that. There's a push to put these pumps on 911 emergency ambulances. So there's only a handful currently right now that are doing it. We decided through basically a consortium of our staff that they all wanted to go forward with this. And what it does, it allows us to provide a better care to the patient. So we can run more different medications that we can carry now because we have the pumps. And it also makes it a lot easier to accurately give medications than the old style of just opening it up, let the fluid drip and do math in your head and count. So this takes that out of it. So those are some big purchases that start out at the beginning of FY25, but I'm very confident that we will not overextend our budget for this year. We're already on pace now to turn back a good amount of money. So,
Mike,
Yep.
just a question there. You said a little bit earlier that the call volume is up significantly. Is there specific reasons for that, or?
No, not really. It's been a trend. So last year the call volume was up, and the call volume this year is about the same. I think part of it has to do with there's a lot of people going to emergency rooms for things that you used to go to your primary care for, and because people don't have primary care physicians, or when they call them, they can't get in, especially for illnesses and stuff. There was recently an article done about the wait times at the hospitals. The hospitals are overcrowded. The hospitals, people are going there for everything. People are, driving themselves, calling ambulances to bring them to the hospital for things that probably could go to an urgent care center, or could go to a walk-in at someone's primary care physician's office, or an urgent care at someone's primary care physician's office. So that I think was where we're seeing some of those numbers up. We definitely have had a big uptake with respiratory viruses. The flu, things of that nature. This year has been very prevalent around this year. So we've had a good amount of calls for that. But we also, in this town, we do get a lot of calls anyways. We do have I wouldn't say significantly high, but we have it higher than average for our town size elderly population that we do bring to the hospital for things, falls, things of that nature. So, but yeah, we definitely seen an increase last year, and again, it's staying steady this year. So we're looking on track to be about doing the same this year as we did last year. As far as our FY 26 budget, I don't think I did a separate thing here for. So FY 26 budget, we're really looking to increase the operating expenses by 3%. And the reason being, it's just for the increased costs. Everything's getting more expensive. We added a new line item in there for training. We do a lot of in-house training for our staff. We do a lot of training classes and stuff, and we have an online training platform that we can use, that we can send training out to the staff. They can do it at home. They can do it when they're on shift and everything. But we've done good with getting some equipment from other departments that aren't using it. We share training equipment with other areas, and some of the training equipment we have is pretty old. So we're looking at investing some money every year and try to maybe get some new equipment, pay for a lecturer to come do it, a special class, maybe even be able to pay for some of our staff to go to conferences, things of that nature that we haven't been able to do in the past, just to increase what we're doing. So because the field is ever changing, and there's a lot of new technology, a lot of new information, a lot of new programs and procedures, and we just want to make sure that we're keeping up with everybody and making sure that the product we're providing is one of the best in the area. So we add that, but other than that, and then the FY26 proposed, it says 5, but it's really a 4% increase to the salary. It's a 4% increase. Originally it was planned for 5, but we changed it to 4. I just didn't change it on the form to say 4. So it's a 4% increase on the salary account. And again, that same thing is to address changes, increased pay rates. We do have to constantly, even if other departments aren't doing COLAs or whatever, we always look to do pay rates increases because we're trying to remain competitive with other agencies. So where the 99% of our staff is per diem, they can choose to work per diem anywhere. And they can choose to work per diem at a private ambulance service. They can work per diem doing anything they want. And we want to make sure that we attract them, and for the staff we have, we want to make sure that we retain them. So this year, the big push is we're going to be changing to an EMS wage scale. So currently, every EMT, no matter if you've been an EMT for 1 year or 20 years, gets paid the same hourly rate. And it's just the salary breakdown we've always had. So this year, we pushed to make that change. So we'll be doing a wage scale based off of experience at each certification level. So EMTs, paramedics, advanced EMTs will have step raises based off of years. So step one is of course brand new. Step two is at 2 years, because we currently do have a 2-year step for paramedics. And then every 5 years, so 5 years, 10, 15, 20, will be another step. And each step is roughly a 2% raise. So that way we can kind of differentiate between those people. Because again, we do have some people working for us that have 15, 20, 25 years experience. And, and they love working for us, so that's not an issue, but it's time to kind of, show them our appreciation for them bringing their talents to the town. Because, without them, it'd be difficult to provide the service we do. So for the projections for FY '25 and '26, after we transferred the projection right now is that after we transfer the salary and operating budgets along with utilities for the ambulance repayment, because we pay $14,000 every year, it's like a fuel charge that we transfer to O&M so that they have money to help pay offset the fuel for our apparatus, because of course we're using the fuel pumps and everything. And then again, the $20,000 that we're paying back to capital. Our total budget for the year is $1,067,000. And after we transfer that out of the ambulance fund, the current projections show that we're going to have roughly $581,000 left in the fund, which is great because we have to order a new ambulance. And the reason why I say is we don't need it right now, but similar to the fire department, we're looking at anywhere 32 months, 36 months. And that's right now. It was starting to go down, but with everything changing in the country politically and everything with like possible tariffs and everything else, there's a concern that that may start to cause a problem with importing some of the technology that we use in the ambulances. So that 32 months could become 36, could become 48, we don't know. So we have to plan for the replacement of our Ambulance 2. Ambulance 2 is a 2017 E450. We try to get 10 years out of them. The issue we're running into, though, as you can imagine, the busier we are, the more mileage we're putting on these trucks. So A1 lasted us 13 years. We were putting Band-Aids on it towards the end. We actually put it as a backup truck for the last 5 months that we had it, because we didn't want to keep putting the mileage on it. We were afraid that something big was going to break and then we were going to have to pay for it. So we just kept it as a backup truck, and it went out on second calls, went out to do football details, things of that nature. And then, so we're hoping we're able to do that with the current Ambulance 2, which we're looking to replace. But that's what we're being told by our vendor now. We're looking at 28 months to 32 months. So when we order it, we're looking at it's not going to be here until probably sometime in the fall to winter of 2027, maybe 2028. And it's due to be replaced in 2027. So we're already going to be a little bit behind. Only thing we can hope is that it comes a little bit earlier. So with that, with the remaining funds, we can transfer the $350,000 out. The ambulance is quoted at $335 from our vendor, our sales rep, I should say. That $335 includes like a $10,000 buffer for possible increased cost for the chassis, because we don't know what a 2027 40 450 is going to cost us. It may cost us $10,000 more. That's about the average. So if that doesn't go up, then it's going to cost us less. So we'll have money to turn back. But and then there's an additional $15,000 we budget for miscellaneous equipment. If we have to replace bags on the truck, if we have to buy new radios, and which may be the case for Ambulance 2. We're probably going to have to buy new mobile radios for the front of the trucks, so that they're the more newest technology we have to match A1, because A1 has the newer radios. But even after all that, after transferring everything else, it does look like that even after all that, we'll still have over $200,000, maybe even close to $250,000 in the ambulance fund as we start FY '26, and then we'll start bringing in revenue again. So
It's good.
When do
So,
you pay for the, do you pay on delivery? Or do we have to put up money up front?
sorry.
Do you pay up front on the ambulance?
No, we pay when we pay. So what we do is we move the money aside into account.
Yeah.
We only pay when we sign off that we are accepting delivery of it, and we have to go through some checks on that. Normally the ambulance comes. They'll send us pictures throughout the build, and then it comes to their location over in Plainville. We go do a site visit, do a walk around, they talk about whether we want them to mount flashlights, fire extinguishers, things of that nature. The state goes there and inspects the ambulance and signs off that it's approved to be an ambulance in the state of Massachusetts, because they have different regulations in other states. Once they gets the ambulance designation from the state, and we sign off saying that we're good with it, and it gets delivered, and we put it into service, that's what we pay them. So we have plenty. Like I said, the money we have now, we're going to move, but it's just going to sit there until the ambulance shows up, which is what we did before.
And like, you put in a high-interest account or something so it generates more money, or no?
No, not really. We just move it, just because we don't know when we're going to have to pull it out. Just because they say 32 months, but again, if it's here at 16, we never know.
Make some money on that, 350,000,
So,
if it's
it's definitely-
3 years.
Bitcoin.
Yeah, do some other investments, but, so that's really how that stands right now. Everything's looking, as far as financially, looking good. I am working on something else. We're with the state, there were, just financially, there were 2 bills that were introduced back in 2023. One went through the state Senate, State House. Both of them would have required insurance companies to pay what they call a municipal rate. So municipal departments like ours, we set our ambulance rate, and it's a municipal rate. We have to fall. We can't go too high. We can't go too low. We have to go within a set range. And every town that operates an ambulance, whether it be separate from the fire department or not, has their municipal rates for ambulance services. Problem we run into is that because we're a municipal ambulance service, we don't have contracts with all the health insurance companies. It's just not the way ground ambulance transports works in healthcare in Massachusetts. So a lot of these insurance companies will not pay the whole bill. They'll say that we're out of network. They'll pay 20% of the bill, and then it's on the patient to pay the rest. So that these 2 bills were supposed to solve that, and of course they both went nowhere. So, well, one went and got absorbed into a bunch of other bills, came out, and that new bill came out, and nowhere in it does it mention anything about ambulances, municipal rates, or reimbursement. So I've reached out to both our local state senator and House representative to see what we can do about it, and see if we can get it on the state, during that state election, get it on there as a ballot question. Because this is something I think will benefit all the residents. Any resident calls 911 and gets transported by an ambulance, it'll benefit them. Because now they won't have to worry about a bill after they just had a heart attack. And it's kind of ridiculous in that sense. But it also will help all these communities too, because now the income will be better. And the income will be better because it's coming from the providers, and we're not chasing after patients for bills and stuff. So it's definitely something that we need to take care of and look at, so that it's better for all the residents in the Commonwealth, but it's also a lot better for the services. And it will help, offset maybe some of the tax money that, not in this community, of course, because we don't take tax money, but in other communities, the amount of taxes people are paying to pay for public safety, this could help with that. So.
Good, Mike. And just as a reminder to everyone, particularly those who might be watching, that even though you give us a budget presentation, you don't get your budget from the town. You are self-funded.
100%.
Yeah. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Anybody else got any other questions?
Mike, is it a true fact that when if you do like a lift assist, that they don't get paid billed for that?
Sorry?
If you go down and do a lift assist,
Nope. By healthcare, law for ambulances, we only get billed for times when we transport.
Yeah.
That's it. We do community EMS program in town where we go do well-being checks on patients. We work with patients for fall prevention in their houses. We recently got a donation of a ramp for a resident, and we're working on getting that installed for them. Things of that nature. There's no billing mechanism for that. So, and that's been a problem. That's been something that they're also trying to address, especially for, we don't do it, but other services do what's called mobile integrated health, which is where a paramedic will show up at your house with a bunch of equipment. They'll do vital signs, they'll put you on the EKG, they'll do blood tests, they'll do labs, they'll do a teleconference with a physician. And if you're home sick, you just got discharged from the hospital, say you had surgery, you're not feeling good, it sounds like you might be developing an infection, that paramedic can sit there and give you an antibiotic while sitting there, and then leave an hour later and stuff. There's still no billing mechanism for that either. Who normally covers that cost is either the hospital or the physician's office will pay the company providing that service. But that's one of the reasons why we don't do mobile integrated health in the town, because A, we don't have a lot of patients for it, but B, the amount of money we'd have to put in to run the program, it's a cost negative. And where, I mean, ever since day one, my number one direction is to run a very efficient EMS department. Number two, or 1A, I would probably say, is keep it self-sufficient. And those go hand in hand. So I'm very proud to say that we do provide a great service. We do a lot with the community and everything else as far as providing programs and systems in place. We've built on that over the last several years, and we are still under budget and well within the ambulance fund.
Well, I think you do a great job
Thank you.
personally, but somebody asked me the other day, was that a true fact that?
Nope, yeah, so we do a lot of those. I mean, that's it. If you see on Facebook, you'll see we post our run numbers at the end of the year on our Facebook page. And a lot of people ask, like, whoa, you do a lot of no transports. Yep, we do a lot of no transports because we do a lot of show up, someone fell, they need help getting up, we assess them, they don't want to go to the hospital. We can't force them to go, even if we think they should. They sign a refusal, and that counts as a patient contact. So our numbers are high. The state always asks us, like, why are your refusal numbers so high? It's like, because anytime someone falls and calls Lifeline and says, hey, I fell, I need help getting up, we send the ambulance. Because, yeah, they may not be hurt, but you don't know that. We'd rather have the ambulance there, assess them, make sure that they're healthy before we leave them. And it's a liability thing, of course, before we leave them, and make sure that they sign saying they understand that we think you should go to the hospital, but you're not. And it covers everyone in public safety that are at that scene too, so it works out. But we do it a lot.
Yes, I know you do.
That's good, that's good. Anybody else? Anything else, Mike?
No, I'm good.
Very comprehensive, thank you very much.
No problem. Did I go by 20 minutes? I tend to go over. But
Hey,
not by much, I don't think.
it is what it is.
So,
But
great.
Thank you again.
Thank you. Have a nice night.
Okay, take care. Good night. Okay, we have the library next. Carol.
Hello.
Hi.
Nice to see everybody. Thanks for having me in. So going back to FY '24, I would say that we had adequate funding for staffing and resources, the technology, programming, our hours open, everything was fine. One of the good things that we were able to do in FY '24 was have our cataloging position go from part-time to full-time, which was really good. So that left us now with, which we maintain now, we have 4 full-time employees. And we haven't had 4 full-time employees since my very first years at the library back 25 years ago. So that makes a big difference for us in providing services. We also, at that time, were able to increase all of the part-time library employees were all admin 1s on the union wage scale. They were the only town employees that were admin 1s. Everybody else was at least a 3 or higher. So we got all of them moved to a admin 3 at that time, which made it much easier going forward. We had a couple of people that had left and replaced, and it was much easier to go through that process, offering, an hourly rate of $17, close to $18, rather than barely above minimum wage, which is what they were at. So that made a big difference for us going into FY '25. Now with 4 full-time and 5 part-time employees. The only thing I would caution you on that is the hourly rates for the full-timers. The children's librarian, the assistant director, and the cataloger are low by the standards in surrounding towns. And, if any of them chose to leave, I think they'd be hard to replace at the going rates. The cataloger is making less than $20 an hour, and she has a master's in library science. So and we're fortunate that she has that. It's not required for the job, and the town doesn't offer a stipend for having the advanced degree. She's happy here, and so we're lucky for that. But if she were to leave, I think that would be tough. And the assistant director is only making $30 an hour. So those are on the low side. We're fine. I'm, not expecting any changes, but something to be aware of going forward as people leave and positions change. You'll be looking at me retiring within a couple of years, so there'll be some changes you might have to think about. We are spending the appropriate amount on books and materials, and a lot of that is spent on ebooks and audiobooks, trying to keep up with the demand for that. It skyrocketed during the pandemic, and it has stayed consistently high. So it's not just, I know I've said this to you before, but it's not just buying one copy of a book. It's also buying the audiobook. It's also buying the ebook so that people can read it on their device. It's also buying a large print. So, and the ebooks and audiobooks are expensive, anywhere from, $50 to $125 for an audiobook and, $75 to $125 for an ebook. So they get us with those. But we're doing fine with that. We have, activities-wise, we have a monthly book club that I run every week. We have a monthly movie matinee where we show a movie in the meeting room. We have so many programs in children's story times, a new program that the Children's Librarian is doing on Monday mornings, music and moving, and the kids are playing music. We have instruments they play, and they're moving around and dancing to songs and books, and that's been really great. We had 85 people in attendance this week for that. We have classes for adults on doing crafts, candles, and painting. Cultural Council has been very good to us with grants for that. We have a newsletter that goes out now once a month on the first of the month that highlights those things that are coming up and then other things that are going on. We also do a newsletter once a month that we call Staff Picks, where we tell people books that the library staff recommends. And the interest in those books goes up, but it also, I think, provides a good way for the people who use our library to get to know the library staff. Like, if they see me and they know that I recommended a book that they liked or hated, then, we have something to talk about. So that's been good. We started doing that. We will probably need to look at replacing some staff computers in the next year or so, but we have state aid, and that has, is such a difference for us. It's why I've never had to come back to FinCom and ask for extra money. We've never gone over budget because we always know that there is that little bit of state aid to help us through things like that we couldn't have, budgeted for or seen that there were going to be issues. We also were able to use state aid this past fall to have some landscaping done at the library. If you noticed, I had a company come in, they tore out all those overgrown rhododendrons that had in 25 years grown up, so they were covering our beautiful windows, and those were all taken out and they've been replaced with perennials. So hopefully this summer everything survived and we'll have beautiful hydrangeas out there, and they planted a new flowering cherry tree in the front, so I think that's going to really make things look nice. And again, we use state aid for that, so it didn't cost the town any money. And we're also expanding the museum passes that we have, because things are expensive for everybody, and people are on tight budgets. So if we can give them the ability to go to Plymouth Patuxent or the Heritage Plantation, or into Boston at the Children's Museum, or any of those things, we're trying to do more. We have Patriot Place. Patriot Place actually donated. They had a winter skate program over Christmas, and it ends this week, and when I called them about getting passes, they donated them. So, we're trying to do more of that and make people aware of that so that they can use those opportunities. We're also so busy with passport applications right now. I'm sure it's a reflection on changes in the political climate, but my phone is ringing off the hook. We are scheduling, we try not to schedule more than 3 or 4 in a day because they take time and it takes, staff to do it, but we're maxing out like almost every day with passport applications, especially Saturdays and days where we can offer it later in the day. And then in terms of looking into the budget for next year, we're not trying to expand any programs, really just maintaining our current staffing levels and service levels. I feel like the library is in a good place right now. I'm sure you were all aware of our heating issues. That has all been resolved. Dave probably talked about some of that. Everything was under warranty. It's all good. As of yesterday, it's all good. And it was unfortunate that it happened the way it did, and that we had to close those days that we had to, but it was just too cold in the building for the staff to be working. So I think, in terms of all that, we're good. Our biggest concern is always just meeting those state aid requirements, because the money that we get from that helps us do all those extra things. And I've said it, I will say it every time I come. We have to spend 16% of our bottom line on materials, and our bottom line has to go up an average of 2.5% over a previous 3 years. So we hit a rough patch a few years ago when we had some staffing changes, and we had a bunch of people working at a lower rate because, like, Amy Shepherdson retired, and things, we did some reorganizing of things and actually eliminated a part-time position or left it unfilled. So, even though it was our idea and it was a better way to operate the library, it put us close to that state level where we, almost needed a waiver, but we didn't have to. And we need to be open 40 hours a week, and we're open 42, so. Questions? That was a lot.
No,
Just-
that sounds good, and I'll tell you, the library is looking really good, too.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we talked to Dave about that, too. That was nice.
Yeah, we've been very fortunate with the work that Buildings and Grounds does for us, getting the outside painted, the roof.
Yep.
We're still waiting on the skylights. I don't know if you talked about that, but we're just,
But it's looking good.
It's fine.
We're glad to see that. Go ahead,
I
Barry.
got a quick question.
Yeah.
So I noticed recently the library fines were eliminated.
oh, yeah.
So I don't know if those were a big
They
portion of
weren't.
your revenue report, but are you noticing, like, are people still returning things on time, or is there?
Yeah, so library fines, the interesting thing about library fines is that they don't actually encourage people to return books on time. And they don't bring in a lot of revenue.
Okay.
I think we were bringing in maybe like $75 or less a month. We never charged seniors anyway, so that was already off the table. And so we looked at that. I think it's now over 50% of the libraries across the Commonwealth have stopped charging fines. And in our area, there are still some holdouts here, but it's going up all the time. And I went to the library trustees with that, had the statistics from the state, from the Board of Library Commissioners, and it has made the staff relationships with patrons so much easier because there's no more of that, like, oh, I gotta tell you, you owe me, you owe this, and it's awkward. And we had homeschoolers who didn't, borrow books for longer and didn't want to pay. And so this way, everybody's on the same playing field, and it's a much more, I think, happy experience. And it hasn't impacted our budget at all.
Good.
So
Appreciate it.
the fines did go into the revolving fund, which is the same as like where our passport fees go. Because for passports, for every passport application that we execute, we collect $35. So that is the biggest revenue that we have, and that offsets the book budget and helps us with that. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else from anybody? No? That's good.
All right.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you, everybody.
Good to see you.
You too.
We're almost back on time. We're almost back on schedule. We have the treasure collector, Kathy. How are you tonight?
I'm well, thank you. You?
Good. Thanks for coming in.
Sure. I don't have anything as interesting as Carol had or Mike had to say. Fiscal '24 budget, pretty much we stay under budget the whole time regularly. There were a few items that went over budget. We went over budget with our payroll processing service fee. We contract out to have a corporation process the payroll and issue checks and direct deposits and pay all the taxes and that for us, Harper's. And I think this was the first year we actually segregated that as a line item, a budget line item, so maybe we weren't quite aware of what the actual fees were. So we went over a little for fiscal '24, but there were other line items that we hadn't used fully, so it wasn't a problem overall. Speaking of the payroll services, I received notice from both the Harper's payroll company and our bill printer after we had set the preliminary budget for fiscal '26 that they were increasing their fees. And Harper's hasn't increased their fees since 2022, and I was trying to calculate out, looks like it's going to be an additional $3,000 over the course of a year. It could be additional $3,000, but I think what we had budgeted was already higher than what should be necessary, so probably looking at an additional $2,000 that I would request into the payroll service budget line item to bring that up to $28,000. And then, of course, postage fees are constantly going up. And recently there was legislation passed that is increasing what we have to do for the whole tax-taking process. Unpaid real estate bills, we have to record a lien, go through a tax-taking process to record a lien to ensure that the town will be paid the real estate taxes. And this has to be done on a regular basis. We do it annually. And then if at that point the homeowner doesn't set up a payment plan or the property doesn't sell and we get the taxes paid, then we go through the land court process to, again, either work with the homeowner to get the taxes paid or the town would foreclose on the property. And this recent legislation has increased the procedures and what is necessary for this whole process. We have to do a lot more mailings. We have to send out a lot more forms and documents. We have to post notices on the property. So we'll have to hire a constable or somebody to actually post the notices. So the fees are going to skyrocket. So right now, because of this legislation, the Mass Collectors Treasurers Association has actually gone back to the state to question and say, hey, what about this? You know, this is a bit excessive kind of thing. So they're still working on that. So right now, I've put a hold on the whole tax-taking process. So this year, we haven't spent a lot of money on that, which is good because I'm going to go over budget and another. But anyway, so I'm concerned about that for the future, the expenses for the postage and just the processing fees on that. But again, I've been trying to keep it to a minimum, you know, get them in tax title and really work with the homeowners to get a payment plan. And mostly that works. There's a handful that we just don't hear anything from the homeowners about. So looking at postage, maybe asking for another $2,500 on my postage line item, just because not sure how much mailing and the weight and the increasing postage. And then the only one other concern I have is I have a contract hire consultant line item, which has been pretty low because I haven't needed one too much, but had a fair bit of turnover in my payroll benefits position, and realizing that I really need to get some professional training in. And I also need assistance a couple times during the years. There's a few times during the years where there's something you do just once. And so I've been hiring Ann Matterford, who was the former payroll benefits person, to come in and help out. And she's recently increased her fees, and she's helping out now that I'm without a payroll benefits person right now. So I'm going to go over budget in that for this year. But again, I haven't been using my tax title legal fees line item. So this year it should be okay for that. But looking ahead to the future, I realize how much I really do need to get some professional training in here. So I'm looking to see if I can increase that line item for fiscal '26 as well.
Okay, Kathy, I have a question that I kind of ask everybody when it's dealing with finance and the software and stuff. I'm assuming you use Vadar
Yes.
and SoftWrite, or just Vadar?
I do still work in SoftWrite because of the school being in it, so
Yeah.
I still need to operate in there.
So how's that going?
It's difficult having the two different software systems because the information is not all in one place. And I'm sure you've heard where the whole transition to Vadar wasn't properly and thoroughly and cleanly done.
There were more than a few bumps in the road there.
Yeah, there've been many
Yeah.
bumps in the road.
As I've always advocated for one system and a comprehensive system that also includes the school department.
And it's become very clear that that's needed.
Oh, no, yeah, it was like that when I was there. And was like that in some of the other systems that I've worked in too. And that's a key feature that is needed and that we need to get back, I think, too. So, okay, we're not going to dwell on it. I can just tell by the, but Any other issues you see either for transitioning out this year or for next year?
I can't address the software issue, just because that's way beyond.
Well, we've got it, that's being talked about in a lot of areas, you know that, and I get kind of involved in that myself, so.
Yeah, but I'm very fortunate to have a very good couple staff right now, currently,
Yeah.
the two, very reliable, very loyal, and
Yeah.
generous with their
Good.
time. Yep.
Good. Anybody got any questions for Kathy? Go ahead, Tony.
Do you have a timeline for replacing your payroll and benefits coordinator?
I'm actually going to be on vacation next week, so hopefully we'll be having first interviews the following week. So, and then second interviews and hires, so it could be 4 weeks yet before we actually.
It takes a while to get them up and
Yeah,
running, right?
yeah, because if somebody's currently working, they have to give notice. And
Okay, anything else from anybody? Okay, Kathy, we thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, have a good night.
Thanks, you too.
We're supposed to have information technology.
I think he's in the other room. You want me to go?
Is he, John?
I think so.
Is he here? Yeah. Okay, yep. If that's who we're getting, yep.
It's been sitting in the wrong room.
Okay, thank you.
Puts him right on schedule.
Huh?
That puts him right on schedule.
Tell him to speed it up because he's a little behind. He doesn't know he's on schedule. You going live, right? You going live?
I went for the first time ever to do a CPR class.
You what?
To do the CPR class they do every month.
I want to do
I forget his name, but they just get like guys to cycle in. It's the first Monday of the month.
I emailed him,
Yeah.
and he's, I was surprised it was free.
It's great if you want a card, it's $25.
Yeah, it's-
I needed the card to do
How
it.
long was the class?
2 hours.
Let's see,
Was there a lot of people?
3 more, IT, water district, accounting, 3 more topics.
That's it?
Not bad, not bad.
Oh, we're right on schedule.
Adolescent and
Well done.
adult CPR. Chronic and
Yeah, I'm gonna do it.
you should.
I'm gonna bring my wife. To us, yeah. We did it in school when I was a kid. Everybody there. I just, it's so long ago, I don't remember.
They say you should like redo it every 2 years.
Yeah.
So for my yoga teachers, I have to.
Do you have the quiz, right?
I do got
Oh, you know how you did. Because we never went to the library.
There we go. Okay, back
Good
to
evening.
it. John, hi. Information technology.
Yes. So where would you guys like me to start?
Well, just give us a little summary about how things went last fiscal year, where you are this fiscal year, and obviously your upcoming budget.
Okay, so, last fiscal year, so that was, fiscal year '24, which happened to be part of my first fiscal year. That went okay. Budget, so starting out, basically building an IT budget for the town, because everything originally, prior to me was into the schools, so this is really just in its infancy. And trying to build the budget up to be what it needs to be to cover all of the town, all of our expenses, security software, operating software. So as far as everything, as far as everything is going good. Where,
Okay.
I'm doing a lot of talking to a lot of vendors, managing to, get them to fit our budget, which is not to pat myself on the back, it happens to be a skill that I have. And as far as that, I mean, an increase, the difference in the budget between FY '25 and FY '26 is only $48,000 currently. And that, I'm sure, for FY '27 will change a little bit, because everything goes up every year. And as we, move into the subscription world, where, you can't buy anything these days without a subscription, it's gonna, we're gonna feel that. But other than that, everything's going good. Currently, right now, I think the total number, and I know that there are a couple areas, and I'm sure you guys don't have all of this too, that we discovered today, but total budget for IT, which includes the town-wide copier lease. So that copier lease covers the town completely, including the schools. That budget, the budget number for FY '26 is $433,356.
So what was it?
$433,356.
Now, you, I didn't quite follow that one, John. Can you talk about that again when you said the copier lease? Like, I'm looking
Yeah,
at.
we have a town-wide copier leases, so all the copiers in the town, so every copier in town,
And that
doesn't matter where it is.
$81,000.
Is an $81,000 lease per year.
Right. Now that's, I'm seeing that on your, on the
That
sheet
in December,
that
that
I
will change.
have. and
That lease is going away in December, and we're gonna have to do a different lease, and it's gonna be separated. There's gonna be a town lease, and the schools are gonna do whatever they're gonna do.
Okay, so then what is the 400 and something thousand?
Oh, that's total budget costs across the board for IT. So that includes all of our financial software, all of our subscriptions,
And-
all of the,
But that's not on here.
That's all we have,
that's not what you have.
right?
No.
We have 385, 256, 4.
That's the FY '25 budget. Like I said, I noticed there was an
20
error today, and I happened to pick up on it, and I brought it to Karen's attention, so,
Okay, so what is the number?
433,356.
An increase of 48,000.
Yeah, 48,000, yep.
And where's that increase?
That's in subscriptions, software subscriptions.
So computer software,
Yep. I'll give you particulars if you want.
So what was the, so the FY '26 column is all wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, to be honest with you, I think most of it is correct, except for the subscriptions line.
And which is the computer software line?
Right.
Okay,
Yes,
well-
computer software and subscriptions.
And what would that be now?
It is, on my paperwork, it's $227,860, $861. But I think when it's all said and done, it's gonna be 220,000.
Okay, so that's just a little disconnect we have here that we didn't know about.
Yeah, and like I said, I didn't,
Okay.
it was at 4:30 today that we discovered this.
What sort of things fall under additional equipment?
Under additional equipment are things like server repairs and warranties, battery backup replacements, wiring and maintenance to the building, monitor replacement, parts and repairs for scanners, printers, computers. So if need a hard part for a printer of some sort, the money has to come from somewhere.
Is that total expense correct, $3,251 as of December 31st?
32 on, what was total, what has been spent thus
Yeah.
far?
Yeah.
Yes, I do believe that is correct.
Seems really low. With all that you included in there, it seems a really low number, so you must be doing a good job there.
No, knock on wood.
Okay, so we've got the computer software line that went up by 40 or so. And then you're saying that the copier lease contracts, which is at 81, is now going to be divided, that 81 is going to be divided up?
Well, we don't know what that number's gonna be yet.
Yeah.
That won't happen until FY '27.
I know when I was doing this, and I used to call the copier lease line the black hole account,
Yes,
because it was just
it was a bad deal
horrendous.
to begin from the very beginning.
Horrendous, yeah. Yeah.
Did they do one lease just because the vendor wanted to do one instead of two? That's my guess.
I wish I knew that answer.
They probably just.
Might have got more value by including all of
Yeah,
them.
maybe, yeah, true.
It's an above the line item, right?
Instead of having two, you
Although
have one big
the,
one.
Yeah.
the copier leases, back a number of years ago, were, they're on the state bid list, and do you still work off the state bid list for those?
I will work off wherever we can get them
Yeah,
for
'cause
less
they-
money.
they-
I
they
won't
used
say
to-
that, I won't say that generally, I always look at the state bid list, but I
Yeah.
can tell you that it's not always the least expensive place to
Yeah,
buy
no.
things for, especially in the IT world.
Back then, back a number of years ago, you couldn't beat a copier lease, other than the state bid list. It was a great place to go. We were getting, leases on copiers with open-ended clicks and everything else,
Yep.
So that was a great time, and I know it's changed, and it's probably changed a lot.
This particular copier lease only covers the copier. It doesn't cover any consumables, it doesn't cover anything
Yeah.
other than the physical device.
Yeah, things changed a lot.
Hopefully we're using them a lot less.
Oh, boy, that's tough. The copiers get used a lot.
I don't know, look at all this paper.
But anybody got any other questions?
Yeah, can I
for
answer
Jim?
any questions for anybody?
Anything else, John, either from this year, next year of importance?
No, just basic IT expenditures and, everything, as I said, everything goes up every year.
And we'll have to renegotiate with Vadar at the end of this fiscal year?
Yes, I believe at the end of this fiscal year, we're gonna have to we don't have to renegotiate with Vadar. Vadar gave us a contract that basically says it's gonna cost the same amount for, I believe, for the next 6 years. But the contract is only valid for 3.
Yeah, that's what my guy said too. That's not what it turned out happening, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we know we're gonna get things with Vadar straightened out.
I hope so.
That's a high priority, for us, for me,
Well,
And,
it's a high priority for me
for-
too.
yeah, for
And I know it
everybody.
is for Karen, so.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, because we talk about it all the time. So hopefully it will. Hopefully it will. So, anything else? Anybody? Okay, thank you, John.
Thank you.
Take care. Okay, we've got the North Carver Water District, Mr. Belbin.
Sure can, come on up. Hello, my name's Robert Belvin, North Carver Water District. Because we only have 3 members and there's 2 of us here to open up our meeting, I'm going to open up the meeting of the North Carver Water District for the Finance Committee meeting on 2/26/24. It's being recorded by Area 58, and we'll just use your meeting minutes to cover us for that too. All right? First thing I have to ask is, I asked that the chairman step down from his chairmanship now. He's made some comments about me at the RDA meeting on 2 different occasions about me filing open meeting law complaints, and that they were disparaging to me, and also the comments that he made about me, I felt doesn't give him the ability to be fair and impartial at this meeting, so I asked that he be removed.
Well, that's not going to happen.
All right.
There you go.
Well, I just want the committee members to understand that he made disparaging comments about me.
As you have.
Mine have been founded
So,
as being real and true.
look, I don't want, it's too bad that you had to start this. I didn't want to get into this. Just give your presentation and let's get done. I'm not stepping down for you or anybody else.
Okay. So I think that starting out with the North Carver Water District, for many years it's been underfunded. If I start back from last year, they were budgeted at $636,221 coming from the annual town meeting. And I didn't make that budget up. I don't know where the budget came from or how it was budgeted that way. But even at $636,000, you take out the $230,000 from the debt payment, that only left $400,000 to run a water system, and the system wasn't even running during that time frame. So there were issues. Before that, it was $490, and then for some reason it went down to $256. So for running a water system, I mean, that really isn't a whole lot. So I have those dates from all the annual town meetings from 2014, just to check out how much our budget was for the North Carver Water District. So that's kind of a quick history of it. I'm gonna hopefully do this as quick as I can. Some of the history with political wise kind of comes along with this for the presentation as the North Carver water situation, I see it now, has become prior decisions by the North Carver water members, different meetings that were held prior to me coming on here and being elected, put this North Carver Water District in disarray. Small water system, gave a 30-day notice, and there was a decision made by the board and the chairman to not do anything after that 30-day notice for someone to run our system. When I took over and I was given 2 days to make a decision, we met on a Wednesday, the 2 members resigned at that point to figure out how do we keep it open? How do we keep it running? We don't have a company to run it. So I was forced to shut it down. Then there was a plan by the town, other people in the town, to have the 2 members resign and the town select board would take it over. This was done behind the scenes. Lo and behold, it's now the town administrator wants to do the same thing. All right, it's a little more open now, but I'd rather it be in the open end, not happy with it, but no matter what, that's what they're looking at, to have the North Carver Water District be taken over by the select board. The current situation that we have now is that we now have an urban renewal plan, and actually the fire chief was here I watched that meeting today, and he even referenced that of the development in the North Carver area. That's not gonna happen if we don't have water. Bottom line is, it's not gonna happen. We have to have water. The two big developers right now that are talking is Route 44 Development and Constantine, the guy who owns the land behind Noria gas station there. He said he wanted 30,000 gallons for either a commercial or a residential. If it's residential, talking 200 potential homes, apartments, whatever he's gonna build, all right? It's a lot of water, and we don't have any water right now because we have a system that's not running. They both, Constantine paid a betterment fee along with Roby's. If they want to develop, they paid a betterment fee. Where's all that betterment money? It was taken up somewhere, but it's not there. I think there's like $60,000 in the budget right now under the betterment fees. Don't know where it is, gotta find out. But then they need water. So these people paid to get on the system, and there's no system to get on. So it's gonna cost us money. The next one is, the issue that we have is the finances for residents. They're not paying their bills, they're not paying the bills correctly. We're told prior to me to pay the minimum amount, okay? You can't run a system paying the minimum amount, which is like $45.90, all right, for water, where it could be $150 or plus. The meters aren't working. Some are well over 10 years old. They need to be changed out. We don't have anybody to change them out. We actually have one property that has the same meter number. How that happened, I don't know. But they're the same meter. We can't fix it because we don't have anybody to fix it. We have Middleborough. We have a Middleborough agreement that was agreed to prior to me, where they would give 1.5 times their water rate. It was okay before, but after that was agreed to, they increased their water rates. Ours is $45.90. They increased theirs to $47.82. That's the minimum amount. We're paying 1.5 times that rate. And that's just for a 5/8 inch line. So you want to do the numbers. It's 5/8 inch line is $71.73 that we're paying for water to Middleborough, which I think that incorporates the high water bill we got is $130,000, which concerns me because we don't have the cash to pay that, and we're not even getting money back from the residents to cover a portion of that. So that's where we're at pretty much now. I had some other thing, I'll move on from that. So the original budget that I presented to the finance director and the town administrator, when we talked about this, I tried to be as open and transparent. And I was doing that with also the chairman to make sure that he had all the information that we had to keep him up to date and hopefully keep you guys up to date if they were forwarded to you, I hope. And to understand that this is what we're looking at. Before, the budget was really simple. It was like 10 items, 10, 11 items. The public needs to know how much a water district really costs, because a lot of the stuff that was being done by the town, there was no figure added to that. So what I did in this budget is I tried to take what they had, and then I expanded to make sure that the people knew that we had a $200,000, $230,000 in our bond payments that we need to pay out. But we also have a secretarial services that the town's paying for, the landscaping and plowing, the town meter reading and billing services. Those services were never included in a North Carver water bill, and the town does that for us. In our agreement, they're supposed to pay for, the town of Carver pays for the billing services. But it's part of the North Carver Water District. So I wanted you guys to understand that this is what's going on and this is what it's costing us. This budget right now, as was presented, totaled 900 and, I gotta put my glasses on, I'm sorry, it's small. I actually brought them, believe it or not. I usually don't. $994,706. That's a lot. And what that does is it covers maintenance and repairs of our wells, because right now the system's not running, and because it's not running, it's just sitting there. So the pumps may be bad by now. The other stuff is repairs of the facility. It's actually going to be more than that, because the valves that are all in there are all computerized valves, sitting stagnant for almost a year, not being moved, and even before that, it was only being done supposedly once a month, once a week by small water systems, that they were pumping out once a week. I have no documentation at all, nothing, that small water systems did anything for a year. There's a logbook there, nothing in there at all. Don't know what they were doing, but they didn't turn around and check off anything that what they were doing. Concerns me. The other stuff here is the system, the plant's in such bad shape, in my opinion. When I had companies come in and look at it, they said, well, yeah, it's in bad shape, but it's really not as bad as what we've seen in the past. But the big thing is, we just paid $230,000 for new screens to be put in. They've been sitting in a high iron water. They were supposed to be what they call pickled, all right, which basically they take it out, they clean them all off, and they put them in a solution to keep them fresh and clean, all right? Never happened. Small water systems didn't do that. They should have done it, they didn't. What was stated to me is, they're trashed. $230,000 out the wall. So we're gonna need that. That's included in this budget. The $200,000, actually, I have to say, the $200,000 is in what I'm gonna talk about next. I apologize. All right, that wasn't included in this original one, all right, which was done before I found that out. I created a new one because we got a notification from the Department of Environmental Protection. I did pass that over to you guys, all right, that we have a meeting in next month with them. And what it's called is a consent order, and they're looking to penalize me. There was one prior to me becoming on the commission. They already had one out there, and there was a $5,000 fine with that. This will take over for that one because it's even worse. Middleborough was doing our water system, was doing everything for us. They gave us a 30-day notice, and so and behold, they said, oh, nope, we're done doing all this stuff. You guys need to do it yourself. We couldn't get anybody to come in here and do it. We did put out RFPs, and nobody wanted to apply. And they finally came back and said, you know what? We didn't do it because we want everything. The companies don't want to piecemeal it. They don't want to just come in and fix what's there, all right, then have to rebid to go ahead and do, to run the plant. They don't want to be a supervisor, and that would maybe preclude them from actually doing the other things. So the bottom line here, what was done by the district wasn't sufficient enough, and we're now asked our lawyer to write up a new RFP to have someone come in and run the plant, which actually helps us because we're going to be going here, and one of the things that they want us to do is hire somebody to come in and take care of the plant to get us back in compliance. One of the big things is they're asking us to do is to hire a engineer to look at, and these are all time framed of 30 days, 60 days, and 90 and 180, I think it is. But yeah, we have to hire a somebody in to do our cross protection. Whatever we hire a company, they're going to do that. We have to hire a registered engineer to look at our water supply and everything having to do with it. That's going to cost a lot of money. That wasn't included in this budget. And some of these are negotiated, that we can negotiate out, hopefully, if we get somebody in here. But everything's going to cost money. Everything from G, which you guys should have this, G all the way to P, all is going to cost money. There's no questions about it.
So they're gonna fine us because if it's not, the system's not on, it's not working, from what you just said, they're still gonna fine us?
So the original fine was because the small water systems and the district never notified the DEP that we had the water stopped. every time the water stops, for a certain period of time, we have to notify DEP, all right? And that never happened. So we get fined because of whatever the company doesn't do right, all right? So why it didn't happen, I don't know, I wasn't here, okay? But the notification has to happen. And when residents call the DEP and complain, the DEP is gonna turn around and call us up and say, hey, we got complaints, what's going on here, all right? And that's what they found. They also found when they did an audit, that they never did a safety inspection, which means you have the police, fire, EMS, DPW, everyone has to come to the plant, all right, and do their job. So if there's a fire, they know how to handle a fire in that plant. If it's a break-in, the police know how he handles a break-in, all right, because the police department are our security force for the water system. That's state law. All right, so DPW, if it's snowing out, we need someone to get in there and plow us out to get into there if something happens. Even though the system's not running, we still need somebody there to do everything else. We need a primary operator and a secondary operator. We don't have that. We haven't had it for a while. We need it. I tried to when I took over to institute it, and it didn't pass muster with the board. They wanted to go in a different direction. Well, unfortunately, we're starting it now. So we're 9 months behind the 8 ball, but we're hopefully gonna get back in the 8 ball. The problem is money. Bottom line, it's all money. All right, once we start a water system, you own it. And once you own it, you gotta comply with state and federal regulations. And if you don't, they're gonna come down hard on us. And basically, that's what they're doing. They're done playing with us. All right, they're saying, hey, come in here and take over. So, with this new stuff that's just coming down the pike, we need to turn around and expand our budget. Now, this has not been approved by my board, all right? So this is just me speaking right now, all right? The DEP fines was $6,546, okay? The new screen replacement for the damaged ones, I'm asking for $250,000 as a possibility for that. And then the consent order, another $100,000 just for that. So that brings a total, if approved at town meeting, is $1,351,252. And we don't have that money. We don't. We have an enterprise fund. We got a bill for, like I said, from Middleborough for 130. In my original budgeted, I budgeted $240,000 for Middleborough bill because Middleborough is good enough to give us water. We should pay them on time. We didn't pay them on time. And that's not right. So I wanted to make sure we had enough money to pay the bill that comes in. I was thinking $60,000, $70,000 a quarter. This new bill shocked me a lot. So I know that this 240 may cover us 1 quarter. All right, but we're not gonna get that much money from our residents, all right, especially if they're not paying what they're supposed to be paying. And we did make a motion at our meeting that no more paying minimum fees because that's what was told before. If your meter's wrong, okay, just pay the minimum. Well, that's wrong. That's not the way it goes, is you pay your bill, then you come to us and ask for an abatement and tell us why your bill is so high. And we've done that already for a couple of residents. Their bills were high. There was no reason for it to be high, so we abated their bills, all right? And now they're on the straight and narrow. We still have an outstanding one for McDonald's, $10,000. And when I talked to them on the phone, I'm like, hey, yeah, well, come in, seek an abatement, but I want you to know that in the summertime, I saw your sprinkler systems running, just water pouring out, not even being sprinkled, just pouring out. So there may be $10,000 that you guys got to pay for. So you may want to check that out first before you come to us and ask for an abatement. All right, so, I mean, I'm going to be playing hardball with the residents, but you know what? The residents can't afford all of this, and it's the issues over years and years of neglect of the water system is the problem. And we need to get it back up and running. And if we don't get it up and running, we have legal problems because we have taxpayers that paid a betterment for water. So this is gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt a lot. And I'm sorry. that it does, but I'm trying to be open and transparent of what it's gonna cost us, and I could be wrong. It could be more than this. All right? I'm not a water expert. I'm not a finance person, but I know that if we don't pay and get this water system back up and running and providing water, it could cost us a lot more than this. It could cost us a lot more in tax revenue or legal bills. One of the last thing I want to end on is one of the plans that I had thought about, and I think we need to move forward, is an agreement with Middleborough, and I had Eric go ahead and work with a lawyer for that, and to make sure that Middleborough will continue to provide us water while we get the system up and running. But once the system is up and running, that we basically split the system into two systems. From Plymouth Street south down 58 would all be Middleborough water. From Plymouth Street to Plimpton would all be the North Carver Water District. That would help us in a couple of ways. It would increase water resources for these commercial developments temporarily, and then allow us the opportunity to start building on the system, because we have a problem with pressure. We don't have good water pressure. We need a water tower. That's the only way it's gonna happen. We're gonna need to make some changes. We may need to turn around and drill another well. So these are the things that we have to look for. If we're gonna have commercial development in the North Carver, we need water. We need to provide water, and if we don't provide water, we need to be prepared for legal consequences. And I think I'm done speaking. Eric?
No, so looking at your, I don't know if that was the budget that Bob submitted over you, Laura,
I haven't seen that.
or the one you sent over to me.
I've seen the budget that Bob has submitted.
So the-
FY '26 and
Oh, okay, so I just got this yesterday, so I just played with it today. I didn't get to it today. So speaking with Jill, we're getting credits for solar. So I mean, you had a line item, I think it was for $50,000 on there. We're actually getting the offset credits now, and it's coming in monthly. So it's almost a wash that there's no electric charge moving forward. So the check comes in, goes out, but we're getting a check in now. And I verified that with Jill this Monday morning. So, but I don't want to leave that empty. I'd rather, there's $50,000 savings, it's quite a bit. But I don't want to leave that empty because the credits might not offset the usage at the plant. So I wanted to put $1,000 a month aside for that on the budget. When I dug into everything, our previous operator of the plant was about $75,000. I think you had $250 in there. I wanted to put it back at 75. I mean, there's probably capital, we can come back to the town if we have to capitalize something that we don't see moving forward. We'll probably have to come to the town for some money. But the initial budget, I think we can shave down to actuals. There's probably about $200,000 of savings I see in this, just based on where we've run for the last 8 months. I know we're not running the plant, but based on the history and then going forward with operators, under the rates we had prior. But I think we can tighten it up a little bit, and that's something we can work on as a board and sit down and hammer out. I can send you all these adjustments. I just played around with this today for probably an hour and a half, looking through history. So I know it's initial sticker shock coming in, I think it was like 1.2 million or 1.3.
No. So the 1.3 covers the
Right.
other issues for the DEP. But we have to understand is that if we have a company come in to run it, it's probably gonna be about 10 grand a month just to run the plant. But we also are gonna need to fix everything in the plant.
Right.
So, the solar, if we're gonna get money back, that's great, but we still need the extra funds, because we don't know. We have to hire an engineer, we don't know. We had $200,000 in the budget that was created. We're already tapping into that.
Yeah, capital.
And we haven't even tried anything, all right? We don't have anything to use for that money. It's just gotta go to water. And that's not the use that it was supposed to be intended for, which I have concerns about. I mean, if we don't have money, we don't have money, but, I mean,
Yeah, there's some
it
things.
is what it is.
There's things coming to light too, like the Middleborough went up in their rates. They were charging us 1.5 times their rate. which was still under the North Carver's rates at the time, but now where they increased their rates and the multipliers on that, they're charging us just over 1.5 cents per
What's
gallon.
the rate, how much?
It's
what's
just
the
over
rate?
1.5 cents per gallon it's
Yeah.
coming out to. We're charging about a penny a gallon, North Carver Water, so there's a jump. We just got a nice detailed bill for one full quarter, I think it was $36,000, was actual water for the quarter. But we're not bringing in that type of revenue with the bills going out. We're probably bringing in about 29,000 because our rate is under. Rates haven't been adjusted since I think it's 1999?
No, 2019.
2019. So we are, I'm waiting for 3 other towns to get back in the surrounding area, but I think our rates are underneath what, the norm is.
What is the rate again?
Our minimum charge is $45.
$45.90.
$45.90 for up to 1,000 gallons, 1,000 gallon minimum. But if you average out the charge per gallon, it's about a penny a gallon. Based off the water bill that Middleborough just sent us,
Yeah.
they charge us about 0.016 per
We should be
gallon.
paying $100 and they're paying 45.
Yeah,
How many, and times how many people are using it?
it's about,
135.
yeah. I think-
Residential?
Yeah, residential
And commercial,
and commercial.
So when you get over
2.2 million
1,000,
gallons a quarter, I think,
somewhere around there.
2.2 million gallons a quarter,
you go over 1,000 gallons,
then
and
the
you
rate,
pay, what's the rate? One,
it's steps. It's
just
based
the-
off of,
the next one?
yeah, I don't have the Carver, I don't think I have the Carver rates. Don't maybe.
That's all right, I think I
Yeah,
understand.
it gets kind of funky with water, as you go up with usage and depends on your service line as well. There's a
Okay.
certain minimum and then you're charged accordingly.
So what would an average homeowner expect to pay quarterly?
Typically, they use about 3,000 to 4,000 gallons a quarter,
Okay,
so it's I think the average bill
just a
is
ballpark. It's just
100 to 100.
170, somewhere around
Yeah.
there.
$170 a quarter?
Yeah. And some, like I said, some residents, they don't use that much water, so they pay the minimum all the time,
All right,
all right?
it's under
But,
1,000, and so they
Yeah.
pay like 45.
right,
90.
but if their water meters are bad,
I understood, yeah. So, but you had mentioned earlier that Constantine was talking about 30,000 gallons. What is that
per day.
per day?
Per day.
So what's the capacity of the plant? If the plant was up and running fine,
So it was built for 100,000 gallons a day. That's what we were allowed by DEP, and that's what the plant is supposed to be able to run by. It's only been doing half, like 60%.
so
All
the
right.
town's only been consuming, when it was working, the town was only using 60% of it.
Right. And when small water systems, the water reports that I got from them, that they tested, everything came out perfect. So the system does work.
Right.
And it can work, all right? But being stagnant for this long a period of time, who knows? The other thing is the computer system hasn't been updated 20 years, 15 years, something like that. It's almost the same one. And also, some of the analyzers on it that tell you about the system, those touch screens don't work anymore.
Right.
And you can't get replacement parts for it, you gotta replace the whole thing. And the wiring, what I was told by Weston and Sampson, the wiring's crazy, it was done improperly. So, yeah.
So, but presuming that those issues were somehow worked out in a different way, if we were doing 100,000 a day, would the system pay for itself?
No.
Where do we have to get to for it to pay for itself?
Probably about 160, 170.
And then I understand that there's a lot more issues
Yeah,
with doing
you
that.
gotta-
You can't just decide you're gonna,
So the biggest issue, I think, right now is not just getting the system up and running, is getting a water tower, is to help with the pressure.
right.
125,000 gallon water tank would help us for water pressure, and it would buy us time too.
So
Before
if we
everything
added
else.
a water tower, then you could fill that with water, and then
Correct.
you're still pumping the 100,000 a day,
Correct.
but that water is already kind of in the bank.
Right, right. And the biggest thing with that is it'll help us on the short term. We're still gonna need to increase the amount of water use because
You need more customers.
Route 44, he had 2 people coming into his property, okay? They weren't gonna, one's maybe like 2,000, the other one 5,000 gallons a day. Not a whole heck of a lot. But if he has full build-out, depending on what it is, he could need 30, 40,000 gallons a day.
Right.
All right, and he, like I said, and we're not even talking about Roby's property too. And then the one across the street at Shaw's. So these are all commercial developments that if things go forward, I'm not saying they are,
That's years and years into the future.
but that's, who knows, it could be 2 years down the road. I don't know.
So I'm a little confused about the layout here. So you were talking about a $5,000 fine that happened before you got here?
Right, there was one
Is that
beforehand.
is that still a fine against us, or did we pay that?
No, this new one will take place of the old one.
Did we pay the 5,000?
No, because it was a draft consent
So-
order, it never got fulfilled with it.
Okay, so the total fine that we're being levied right now is the 65.46?
Until we go ahead and we have our meeting in March.
Find out what.
And find out, all right, we'll tell them what we've done up till now,
Okay.
and what we're gonna do, but they're not playing, they're gonna play hardball with us.
In that $100,000, that's your estimate for fixing the situation as detailed by this letter?
The $100,000 is the DEP, what they're
Yeah.
requiring us to do.
But
That's what
there's
I'm
not-
hoping the 100,000 will cover it.
And you're not
That's a
figuring in
guesstimate.
additional fines
No.
in that number?
I don't think they'll fine us any additional fines for it. As long as they see us doing something, unlike what we've been doing, I think they'll know we don't have the money. They already know, if you read it, they know the water system doesn't make enough money
Right.
to keep it sustained, at least now.
Just as a point, before, I don't know if it's worth discussing all these details, but my general feeling of this, and I was here when that water system was, began, back in the 90s. Since then, and including up till now, and don't take it personally, because it's not, there's just been a very much of a lack of continuity in this operation. And from a lot of the things that we've heard tonight, that lack of continuity is still there. And basically, what we're talking about is a blank check. We don't even know what this is going to cost. So I don't know how, I'm just extremely uncomfortable with this whole thing. I mean, we're talking big numbers, and we're talking, well, what if this, maybe that. And every time we talk about something, it's 100,000, 200,000. We don't know what this is going to cost. This is just, I don't even have words to explain this. But
Well, put the money aside, what's the plan, right?
what,
There's gotta be a plan.
there is no plan,
Well, that's what I was trying to
and
get to the point, that
and-
is this a viable
and-
operation?
I don't see something like this, an enterprise like this. And again, it's not a personal criticism, but something like this, I don't know how it can be effectively run by a part-time board with all this going on. And you're trying to make things happen, you're trying to provide some sense of stability and so forth, and it just isn't there. There's so many things that we've talked about and heard about tonight that might happen, might not happen, what if this, what if that, and I'm just seeing hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of potential here. So I don't know how we go forward. We got to have something more. And as Mr. Belbin has said, he's not a water expert, he's not a finance expert. Well, what about getting a water expert? And I don't know how this can go, I don't know where to go. I don't even understand this. So how are we going to go forward with this? And if we do one thing, and, you know, we're talking about just so much money, the money's not there, and we know it's not there. And then we get into it and we start spending some money, and then we're gonna say, well, now we gotta spend all this other money. And where's that coming from? So I gotta know a whole lot more about this before we can even take another step forward, I think, for what it's worth. Go ahead.
So when you talk about plan, that's what I created one, is that originally I wanted to hire somebody to come in, take care of the plan. That didn't work out. So we're back on that plan now to hire somebody to come in and take care of the plan, get the plan up and running. All right, they're gonna help us with all the issues with DEP. All right, most of these larger companies have engineering services at their disposals right then and there. So and they're gonna turn around and charge us. It's not like it's gonna be part of the contract. The contract is to run the system, get the system up and running. One of the estimates from one of the Weston Sampson came out, they wouldn't put an RFP in, but they said, hey, yeah, just to get in there and take a look at the system, about $60,000. All right, that would get them coming in, getting the system up and running, find out what's wrong with it, and we'll give you an estimate of how much it's gonna cost to fix it. We couldn't do that because it wasn't part of an RFP, it was just an estimate. So we went this other way, that we're gonna get somebody in. Once somebody's in here and we can deal with DEP issues and we can get the system up and running, then we have to work on the next part of the plan, is to put a valve over at Plymouth Street, close it down and start giving water. So at least we have money coming in to the North Carver Water District this way as a full cost of commercial. Then we can increase commercial rate waters for it. We're still not gonna pay all the bills, all right, because we still have Middleborough coming with us that way. We will have to increase the water rates for customers. That's gonna be a bottom line. We're gonna have to do that, but it's still not gonna cover it. So basically, if you don't do this budget or whatever, all right, or you wanna make changes to it, go right ahead. All I can say is that if we don't do it in one way, pay for things one way, then we're gonna end up paying for it in another way.
It's not our purview, it's not our, what we do is change budgets. We hear budgets and we discuss budgets. That's what we do. We don't change them.
But you also make recommendations.
And we're not gonna, we discuss, we don't make recommendations. We either, say yes or no. We either agree with your budget or we don't agree with your budget, and that's about it. But you also said too that, you've put out RFPs and you're not getting any responses.
Because it was done piecemeal.
Well, what is a non-piecemeal RFP?
It's what we're doing now, is getting somebody in there to run the.
And we don't even know what the cost of that is gonna be.
Well,
See, and
at least it's gonna be to run a system here, we were paying 6,000 and change to small water systems. It's gonna be at least 10 grand now to do that, because we're gonna have a lot up front that they have to do. This list by DEP, they gotta break it, and these are timeframes. We can't turn around and say, all right, well, can we extend this, can we extend that? That will be our negotiations with DEP. But once DEP says, here you go, this is our consent order, you do it. If you don't do it, everything's gonna be fined. If we don't do it within 30 days, we're gonna get fined. If you don't do it within 60 days, you're gonna get fined. All right, so it's gonna cost money in one way or another. Okay, once you start a water system, you're stuck with it.
Well, would they shut it down and eliminate it? Is that what would happen ultimately?
Yeah, we're on Middleborough currently.
No, in other words, you're
No,
gonna get
DEP, you would have to decommission it, but the problem is, are we willing to suffer the consequences of decommissioning this water system, all right, knowing that we have an urban renewal plan, which we said we're gonna provide him water, quote, if available, depending on what you mean this available is, all right, but he bought 2 properties right off of 58 that paid a betterment fee. So he now owns those 2 betterment fees for those 2 properties. We got these other ones that paid money to betterment fee. I don't want to be the person that says, guess what, we're shutting the system down, see you later, guess what, get your own water somewhere else, sue the town for your betterment cost to get back, along with interest.
Let me ask this question. Is there gonna be, are you gonna have a hard number by town meeting?
Well, we have to, our next meeting, this is on our agenda for the next meeting. And like I said, I didn't see his numbers, all right, because we have a 3-member board, so we can't talk about anything unless it's in an open public session and there's an agenda for it. We're talking about finances and finance. I haven't seen his numbers at our next meeting, which is the 16th, something like that, the 16th, Wednesday. We'll talk about these numbers and the figures to come in and say, here you go, this is what we're at, and if we're gonna vote for it or not.
But you've mentioned so many things tonight that may or may not happen without, knowing what those costs are going to be. I can't imagine how that you can even have a confidence in a number by town meeting.
Well, that's why we have to discuss it at our meeting and have a full discussions about all these different figures that he has now, and we didn't really talk about this consent order because we got it right prior to our meeting within 48 hours, so we really couldn't discuss it in depth, which we'll discuss it in depth at the next meeting. But you are totally right. I'm not gonna be Jack Hunter where I have checks in mail. We don't. We have one guy that says he's got 2 possible people that's gonna get maybe 7,000 gallons a day. We have another guy who says, yeah, I'm gonna do a development on my property for 30,000. It's all talk. It's all talk, and I agree with you. I'd hate to spend money on something and find out it doesn't come to fruition until we actually have plans in stake. But the problem is, we have a water system and we have to comply with DEP. We have to comply with what they want. We need somebody in there to do it. Now, I wanted to hire a water supervisor to oversee whatever company we put in there, okay? The town administrator said that he wants to hire the Middleborough guy to be the water supervisor, so they're gonna be paying him along with paying a company that's running it. So it's the same. Wait.
I don't know if those ever came out of my mouth, Bob. I don't know what you're talking about.
You did?
No.
Okay,
Hire the Middleborough water supervisor?
yeah.
Okay.
That's, yeah,
Bob.
okay, all right.
This,
That's-
one of the problems that we're going to have, a big problem, is that no matter what anybody thinks of it, and there's no way that can't even become close to supporting anything that goes on here because of all the unknowns. We're going to go to town meeting, and you're not. I don't see you having a number that anybody can support. So that's, you can talk about it all night long if you want, but that's the bottom line.
No, we have to drill into numbers when we're together as a group in a meeting.
Yeah, but, from, I don't know, there's not much time. There's so many unknowns, and, I just don't see I don't know what to do. We got an important issue here, too. It's a very important issue. What do we do about it? I don't know. I don't know if anybody knows. And again, this isn't criticism.
No, and I totally understand, and I agree with you, believe it or not. There are a lot of unknowns, and I don't like unknowns.
That's a killer.
And I'm not gonna turn around and tell you that we got checks in hand. That ain't coming out of my mouth. I'm making sure that you guys understand that these are the ramifications. We need to do something. It's gonna cost money to do it. You may not like what I have for a budget here. If anybody else can come forward with a different alternative for it,
Well,
let's talk about it. Come to our next meeting.
It's just going to be it's going to be an impossible sell at town meeting, so.
So if they don't approve our budget, okay, at town meeting, then we're pretty much dead in the water.
Yeah.
And DEP's gonna see that, and they're probably gonna come in and take over.
There's no way to provide an aura of confidence in your budget. There just isn't. I won't support it. And again, it's not personal. The point is there's just, this thing has taken on a life of its own. And I remember when Jack Hunter started this, because I was here. And the lack of continuity throughout this whole thing has been outstanding. And we're at a breaking point right now. And I don't see a way around it. I don't know what the answer is, but we're not coming up with it tonight. And anything that no matter what the number is, I don't think that I can have a level of confidence in it, because I don't know, I don't understand it. There's too many unknowns. And, I don't know what's gonna happen. We could end up, like I said, you're gonna spend some money, and all of a sudden, oh, now we've gotta do this, and now we've gotta do that. That wasn't in there, that wasn't planned for. And then where's that money coming from? And right now, there's a whole lot more money than was probably ever in an anticipated town budget, and where's that coming from? So, those are my thoughts.
Are we sure that the membranes are destroyed?
They won't know until they take them out and look at them, but they've been sitting in high iron content for this long. And like I said, the word they used was trashed.
Wouldn't that have to be a capital expenditure?
It takes a year to get them. It's not like we can just order one. It takes a year for us to get those.
I don't know, what's the capital's with relationship with a enterprise fund? I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that was during COVID, we ordered them last time, it took just over a year. I'm sure manufacturing's back up and everything's moving forward, so it might not be as long as that.
So one of the good things is whatever company we do get, they all have contacts with other facilities that they may be able to pay Peter to pay Paul to possibly get us some. Don't know, we'll still have to pay for them, but no matter what, we may be able to get them sooner. The biggest thing is that we got to get somebody in there. We have to hire somebody to run the plant.
I would use caution in doing anything before town meeting votes on this.
Well, we can't do anything until we get somebody in, because we need to hire somebody within 30 days of
But I don't know what.
March.
I don't know what town meeting's answer is gonna be, so that's so I don't know where we go from here, but, and so we could talk about this all night, but, we can't solve anything, so. We still got another, department head to hear from too, so. We thank you for coming in.
No problem. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Thank you very much.
Aye. Thank you.
Good night. Karen. Hi,
Good evening, hi.
how are you tonight?
I'm doing great.
Good,
I'm still awake.
good.
Thank you for having me
Doing better than
here.
that last group anyway, right?
Thank you for having me here tonight. It's been 11 months with the town as of yesterday, and I just want to say that we've made a lot of progress. I won't talk too long today, and just talk about some of the accomplishments in the finance department. Since I started, I spent a lot of time, working on Vadar and trying to update the chart of accounts. So that's, going fine. I also assisted with, helping the finance committee and the town administrator with, finalizing our financial policies. I oversaw completing the Standard & Poor's finance review for the town so that we could secure our AA+ bond rating. And our financial statements to Department of Revenue were submitted in a timely manner for our tax recap. Recently, our balance sheet has been submitted to the Department of Revenue for FY24, and so we're waiting for our free cash certifications, and our Schedule A, which is another report that's required by the state, will be reported, will be submitted on Friday. So I'm happy that we're moving forward with some progress. One of the areas when I first started here that was a concern for the town was transparency. So one thing that I really tried to do was provide transparency by, preparing monthly reports for the Finance Committee, Select Board, Capital Committee, and trying to respond to requests in a timely and efficient manner. Some of my goals for FY '26 and really looking at automation and trying to address some of the deficiencies that came up in our financial review by our outside auditors. And so what I've been doing since I started is looking at instituting new policies, establishing internal controls, between the treasurer's office, different departments, so that we're working on monthly reconciliations and processing things, in a timely manner. A couple other things that happened this year is that we started a schedule. The town administrator and with the select board prepared a schedule for the town, and we made every deadline for that schedule over the last 10 months. The first was making sure that we started the FY '26 budget process in the fall. I believe it was in October, November. We also established a new procedure and set of standards for requests for our capital committee. Prepared a 10-year capital plan, and also presented a 5-year revenue plan showing all of our detailed revenue from each department, every source for our fines and fees. This was a collaborative effort with the different department heads, just in terms of figuring out what our projected revenue should be. And we made sure, and we had a meeting at the police department a few months ago so that everyone could see that. Some of my goals for FY '26 is to be able to provide this information online. As I look at automation and, instead of, making reports and sending them out, if there's something that we could have as like an open checkbook where people could just go online and they can just see what was the revenue that came in, look at things that visually when charts, sometimes it's easier for people to understand what's happening in the budget by seeing a visual, seeing charts. So a lot of the requests that have come my way, I've been really looking at ways to be able to implement them. I also want to make improvements to the town's manual and computer-based accountability systems through cooperation and collaborations with all levels of town management. And these efforts are going to really strengthen our internal accounting and administrative controls. But at the end of the day, my main goal for the town is to protect the fiduciary interests of the town, be it to provide an independent, timely oversight of all of the town's finances, and to ensure that the financial transactions are executed legally, efficiently, and effectively in accordance to Mass General Law. For the FY '26 budget, I am requesting an additional position for the Finance Department. It's a town accountant. This position is, in my budget, is $95,000 more than my previous budget, so I'm requesting $387,763. This position is really going to allow my department to just work on a lot of the areas that can't be done by one person. For the last 8 months that I've been here, I have 2 part-time staff, and they do an amazing job. I have an awesome team within the finance department between the treasurer and the assessor's office and, working with the departments and the town administrator, but it's not enough to be able to manage, change our internal controls, present the reports in a manner that I feel like we should be doing. We were behind this year. Some of it was through, just some of the challenges with the financial system, but we've moved forward from that, looking at things in a positive light that we have seen. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel now. I can't say I saw that, 4 months ago, 5 months ago, but we've really worked together collaboratively. I appreciate the support that I have from the Finance Committee, from the Select Board, from the Capital Committee. I think working for the town of Carver has been a very positive experience. Definitely have learned a lot through this journey, and so, those are some of my requests. So that's my request moving into FY '26, and, I just hope that I can continue providing the level of service that I have and building the trust of the members of the committees and through the town, and providing you information so that, there aren't any questions, that we provide everything so that you can see what's going on, and then hopefully I can articulate any questions that you have and explain things in a manner that is, that, you know, you can understand it, because sometimes finances can get a little confusing. But that's my request to the Finance Committee, and just an update of pretty much what has been going on. Are there any questions?
Do you know, in the past, did we have a town accountant? I always felt like I saw that title somewhere. Did we never have one, or?
I believe there was an assistant finance director
Okay,
a few years back.
Years ago, there was a town accountant. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
So titles and stuff have changed and whatever, so. Anyway, thank you, Karen. You're doing a great job. And what we really look forward to is, now that we've got a permanent town administrator and a permanent finance director, that you become the cohesive team that, you know, keeps going and brings this whole thing together. And of course, it's not a meeting without talking about Vadar. And anything new from you on that, Karen?
There's nothing new, but just to update the committee, I am working with IT. We're looking at, you know, the other financial software that is pretty efficient is Munis. It's pretty expensive, but we're looking to see what the costs are, and we'll be looking at analyzing, you know, what we pay for Vadar, what we pay for SoftWrite, because the school is still in SoftWrite. If we come to the conclusion, we have a contract with Vadar that expires, I believe, in FY '27. So for FY '26, we will still be on Vadar and SoftWrite. There's a lot of training involved in making sure that Vadar's chart of accounts is 100% updated, reviewed. We would probably have to have a consultant to come in just to make sure that those things and measures are updated in Vadar if we were to move forward. But we are looking at other software options outside of Vadar. But whatever decision we make, it will be collaborative amongst everybody. It's not something that, you know, is a decision that I'll make on my own. We'll have user groups, we'll have webinars with the different software companies that come in, and we're gonna have the end users involved, because at the end of the day, the end users and, you know, the staff members in the different departments that are processing the invoices, that are, you know, putting in the POs, the teachers that would be putting this, we wanna make sure that it's a system that's gonna be user-friendly and easy for them as well. So we're still working on that.
That didn't really happen last time, I don't think. Glenn's coming up to join us.
Would you mind,
Oh,
Chairman, if I could?
please do.
Just as a board note. I do believe the town previously did have a town accountant.
We did,
I
yeah.
think the real difference between the finance director and a town accountant, you know, you have a town accountant, you have the town treasurer and the assessor. Three separate departments, you know, that they will work together and collaborate, but, you know, having that finance director who oversees everybody, I'll tell you right now, having the finance director over the past year that I've been here has really proved to be worth every penny that we have for that, because you need to have that oversight of the three departments. They all have to work as one. And, you know, again, everybody works together, but at some point, somebody has to be the boss, and somebody has to dictate the schedule of when things get done. We've had very tight schedule. I also, you know, again, the town administrator overseeing the entire town. By far, the number one need of this town, I can tell you now, is help in Karen's office. There's no doubt about it in my mind at all. You know, Karen's been here for 11 months now. I think I've been here for 9 months. You know, we work very closely together, but we just repeatedly see these errors that were made before both of us, you know, started work here that need to be cleaned up. So, you know, again, I just really want to stress the importance of having that help. And again, also it's the importance, and I don't know who made the decision to go to the finance director, but that was a good decision for the town.
That happened the last town administrator, last permanent one anyway. It was, so anyhow, we look forward to working with you. Anything that the FinCom can do to help you out, we'd be glad to do. You know that we've got a reserve fund. And if needed, you know, to help us through, particularly with the software system, just let us know. Any questions? Oh, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I really appreciate the support of the Finance Committee, and I think having our I think we meet like quarterly, just coming in the office. I have an open door policy, so if you have questions, you want anything, definitely feel free to come in. Mr. Meager and I have met several times to discuss different things, and I think that has helped me just to be able to understand what some of your needs are and things that I need to do to make sure that, I am adhering to, what the town wants. So I think it's been a great effort, really like working. I think we have an awesome team.
It is. Very good. Anybody else? No? Good. We thank you, Karen. And thank you, Glenn.
Thank you.
Thank you to the committee.
Okay, we got, that's the end of our presentations. Any final comments?
Can I say something?
Yes.
I'll be brief, because I know we're over, but I just wanted, for the record, I want to throw my support behind our great chairman, Pat. I mean, I respect you a lot. You're very intelligent, you have great character, you have great people skills, so I'm glad you stood firm.
Well,
Just
thank
wanted
you.
to get that out there.
I'll explain that to you in a few minutes. Thank you. That was uncalled for. That really was, so.
I
Okay,
support that too, Barry.
we have a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Tony,
Second?
second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting over. Thank you. And we'll see you again on Monday.